Hey everybody, it's Gomedex, and Aetherdrift has officially launched on Arena, so I'm pretty pumped to get into my very first sealed event of the format. I didn't even go to a paper pre-release, all I did was the drafts that we did during the early access, so I still have not played any sealed deck of the format, and I'm pretty excited to try that out, especially considering just next weekend, we're already going to have our first competitive sealed event of the format. There's going to be an Aetherdrift Arena Direct coming out where we could win a collector's booster box of the set. So let's get some nice practice in for that, as well as just have some fun trying out the new cards. Without further ado, let's just bust open these packs and see what we get to play with today. All right, and right off the bat, I'm already loving this sealed pool. It's always great to open up 10 rares out of your only 6 packs, but that is something that can happen in our modern play booster era. You can open up 1 to 3 rares per pack if you're lucky. I think there's even like really corner cases in some sets. You might be able to open up like 4 rares in one pack. So this is quite a lot of rares here for sealed, which is sweet, especially considering a lot of them are quite powerful cards. My favorite is probably the Sky Sovereign here, because that gets to fit into our deck no matter what colors we end up playing, and it's going to be probably the strongest card in our deck, honestly. It's a large vehicle that blows up a creature when we play it and every time it attacks, as long as they've got a small enough creature to shoot with that ability, but that's super, super sweet. We have 2 Curse Cloth wrappings. This is a great way to keep recurring creatures out of your graveyard. You are embalming them, so you exile the creature in your graveyard to make a token copy of it, so you can't keep recasting the same creature over and over and over and over, but this is still going to give you a ton of value over the course of a long game. Basically doubling up every creature you play over time. So 2 copies of that is really sweet. We have 3 rares in Simic, which is awesome. Obviously might get us towards green-blue as a color pair. The Web Strike Elite is pretty self-explanatory, just a good rate for the creature, as well as main deckable artifact enchantment removal. Seed of Arma shows off the new Exhaust mechanic. That's a pretty good one. Exhaust is a super simple mechanic. We basically just only get to use that ability one time ever. Not once per turn, not once every other turn, or anything like that. We just do it the one time. So a 2-mana 2/3, but she comes with a really powerful late game ability to buff the entire board a whole chunk. So that's pretty powerful. Our Amonkhet god here is sweet, not just because it's a god from Amonkhet, which obviously I'm pretty partial to. I love Amonkhet, but it's also just a really strong card in general. 5-mana 6/6, reach, trample, indestructible. Can't attack or block unless it has an even number of counters on it. 0 is an even number, so the turn you play it, it is able to block. If you give it haste, it technically could attack, but it doesn't natively have haste. Then next turn, you put a +1/+1 counter on it and draw 2 cards. So it can't attack or block that turn because it has an odd number of counters on it. But you draw a couple cards, and then the turn after that, boom, 8/8 reach, trample, indestructible that can attack or block. Turn after that, boom, draw a couple more cards. Turn after that, 10/10, so on and so forth. This thing is just massive and obviously wins almost any long game with that amount of card draw, as well as that ridiculously huge body. So that's an incredible card as well. Duretti's a really fun build around. You can reanimate any artifact from your grave, put it right back on the battlefield as long as you sacrifice an artifact you control. Pretty fun, probably not the greatest in sealed. We're not the most likely to have really good combos for this card. If we can make a bunch of treasure tokens and cycle some really expensive artifacts, that would be a way to build around this, but I think we have enough really powerful rares that we don't have to build around at all, that Duretti certainly becomes less exciting. There's Captain Howler for the blue-red cycling deck. Every time that you're cycling a card, you're discarding a card, giving something +2/+0, maybe drawing some extra cards off of this. Sahur shows off the start your engines mechanic. Again, with how many powerful things we have going on in other colors, I feel like it's a little unlikely we play a streamlined black-white aggro deck where this card would be good, but it is still cool to open up the card. It is a powerful card in draft for sure. The start your engines mechanic, if you haven't seen that yet, is pretty interesting. So when you play it, you start at speed 1, and then every turn that you manage to deal damage to your opponent, that can be any way. You can ping them with one of your creatures, or you can attack in with something. You can drain them for a life with some kind of spell. If you do anything like that, you're going to raise your speed. You can only raise your speed once per turn, but you only need to get to 4 speed to get all your max speed abilities. So basically, Play this, hit your opponent, boom, you're at 2 speed. Next turn, hit them again with anything or drain them for life, boom, 3 speed. Next turn, get to that 4 speed. And then whenever any non-token creature you control dies, you get a tapped 2/2 zombie as long as the her is on the board. So this one's a really strong one. I think the cheaper rares, the low mana value rares with Start Your Engines are some of the better ones, because the earlier in the game you start your engines, the better. You can't retroactively go up in speed. If you play like a 5 mana card that starts your engines, and you've already hit your opponent like 6 times that game, doesn't matter. You're at 1 speed if you haven't started your engines until turn 5. So the cheaper the Start Your Engines card, the better. So a 2 mana one, pretty dang solid. And last but not least, we do have a black-white dual land, I guess, if we do play the black-white Zahur and Curse Cloth Wrappings kind of deck there. So, really sweet rares. Certainly went on a bit of a spiel about them, but the set's brand new, so the rares are all brand new to us. So it's good to take some time to read through those and make sure that we are fully comprehending our strongest cards in the sealed pool. For our multicolored cards, mainly just looking for how much mana fixing we have here. We have Night Market. This is going to get put into any deck we play, because it can just come into play as whatever color we need, as well as get cycled if we top deck it in the late game. We have some dual lands for different color pairs. Obviously just depends what color pair we're playing, but it is nice to have those. And that's kind of it. There is a starting column, but I really don't like 3 mana rocks in draft. It always just feels a little bit too slow to me if it doesn't have a really good ability attached to it. And draw 2, discard 1. I guess that might actually be fine in sealed, but really not something we're looking to play unless we really, really need the mana fixing. Some more fine colorless cards. Really depends on the deck. They're all pretty filler. We'd prefer not to run them, except, of course, Sky Sovereign. This is going into any deck we build as just an absurd card. And for the multicolored stuff, just seeing if there's anything really pushing us in a specific direction. It certainly looks like green-blue over anything else, with multiple green-blue rares. Every other color pair, it looks like we have one pretty good uncommon. Yeah, there's no other color pair where we have like 2 cards in that one color pair or anything, so it's really Simic getting the biggest nod here from me. So let's check out all our colors now. For the white, what have we got? And I am going to be reading these cards, still very new to the format. White looks fine. We've only got 1 removal spell in the color, and it's not very flexible. It only kills stuff with toughness 4 or greater, so only really big stuff. And then the creatures are solid. I like the Lotus Guard Disciple and like the Leonin Surveyor a lot, but the rest of the creatures look pretty filler overall. White's just a very okay, very standard looking color to me in this sealed pool. For our blue, we're certainly hoping this color is really nice for our potential blue-green deck. And it looks fine here. It doesn't look worse than our white, but it doesn't look particularly better. We've got the Flood the Engine for our 1 removal spell. I feel that's a better removal spell than the white one that we had. Plus, we have a tempo play here. We can slow our opponent down, bouncing their best permanent, so they have to recast it again later. So Roadside Blowout kind of helps there in that similar kind of removal-esque facet. So I do think blue is a little bit better than our white, but it certainly doesn't look like an incredibly good color all by itself. The Thopterist cluttering up the board, getting 2 creatures off 1 card is nice. The Engineer giving us a good mana sink, turning us into a 3/5 flyer in the late game is good. Gearseeker Serpent's great in any slower game for getting those unblockable hits in for the final few points of damage. So if you're ever in a board stall where it's really cluttered up, everybody just got tons of creatures out there, this can still get through while you're staring at each other. So there are cards I like here in a sealed environment, but again, not anything super, super insane that makes it look like a must-play if it weren't for the green-blue rares and mythics. For the black now, the double Curse Cloth Wrappings is obviously quite big. That's probably the most important reason to try to play black, but we also have good removal here. 2 Siphon Fuels are a little expensive at 5 mana, but they make up for it a little bit with some life gain attached. The Spin Out is very efficient removal. This one's actually quite good. Gravestalker and Archfiend don't look great. Well, specifically Gravestalker doesn't look great in a deck with this few creatures. But maybe our secondary color will have a lot. Risky Shortcut, yeah, filler card draw. Our Victories, the fine. Start your engines, filler creature. I mean, I really like the rares and the removal. Everything else, though, is very, very filler. But I think you're going to find that to be the case a lot in Sealed. You're going to have to run some filler to get your stronger cards into the deck. So this is still definitely a viable route to take. If our green is like really bad, maybe we do just go for a black deck instead of trying to go for the Simic good stuff. Red, we've got double Lightning Strike. That's awesome. Decent aggressive creatures here. 2 Catalyzer, 1 Grease Wrench Goblin. We've got that Duretti, of course, if we do any artifact combo shenanigans, which I don't think our sealed pool really has a ton of. And the Auxiliary as a top-end card is potentially impressive. 6 mana, 4/4 Flying Haste, which is kind of okay, but you could get a lot of value off of that saddle effect. Chipping away at targets or finding the last couple points for lethal. Yeah, red looks honestly pretty solid. It's probably our best color so far if you discount the rares. Like, obviously, red doesn't really have any rares. It technically has Duretti, but our seal pool doesn't have anything powerful to do with that Duretti. And last, but hopefully not least, is our green, and I think it's definitely not least here. We have 2 run over, which means that it is tied for red for the most removal, surprisingly. I guess black technically has 1 more removal spell, so I'm wrong on that, but 2 removal spells is a lot compared to the average in our sealed pool. We've got, what else here? I guess none of the other non-creature spells look particularly good. Well, Dredger's Insight looks fine. But the creatures look great, right? The Scurryfoot, it's really easy to find an early turn where you're not doing something with 1 mana at some point. Like maybe on turn 3 you're just playing a 2-drop. Maybe you don't have a different 1-drop in hand, so you play this turn 1. So this often actually just plays like 4 mana for a 3/3 and a 2/2, because it almost feels like that 1 mana investment of just getting the 1/1 on the board is really, really easy to do and kind of inconsequential. So the real part of this is the 4 mana cost, in which case, again, 4 mana for a 3/3 and a 2/2 is a really, really good deal. And even if you like top deck this later and you have to spend all 5 mana in 1 turn, that's still a pretty good card. So I like that a lot. The Hazard of the Dunes is just pretty big for the mana cost. That's fine. Pothole Mole is a fine value play. Mill 3, pick up a land. We've got couple fine 2-drops, the Venom Sack Lagak, and of course the Web Strike Elite looks great. And then really good ways to stabilize here between the Otark Mammoth and the Migrating Ketrodon. I think both of these are fantastic at stabilizing. The Mammoth is going to give you a 5/5 and a 3/3 for only 6 mana, and then it could even make more 3/3s if you have enough power to saddle it up. So you need 5 or more power among the rest of your board, which is kind of difficult, but it's giving you a really powerful ability if you can get there. And the Ketrodon is obviously just helping stabilize you by getting your life total back up there and spitting out a gigantic creature. So I really like our green to where I think I am just going to try to do the green-blue, because if we're playing the green in the first place, strongest thing we can be doing is playing Sabsunin, however you say that, and Sitavarma. So Lagorans, her, Captain Howler, all this other stuff is likely not getting run. We don't have great fixing in the sealed pool. I had 1 colorless mana rock at 3 mana and 1 green mana rock at 3 mana, but I'd really rather not have to use those if we've got enough cards in these colors. We're definitely playing Sky Sovereign. Just an incredible, incredible colorless mythic. Blowing something up when we play it and every time we crew it. So I've got a blue-red duel, so a red splash would be easier than any other color here. If we do need to splash at all, so I guess if we're really low on removal, we could play the Lightning Strikes. But I've got 2 run over, and I've also got the Flood the Engine. So I gotta run like all the filler here to get enough cards to make a deck if I don't do any splashing. It's a little bit rough. Our strongest black cards are all double blacks. That's not a really splashable color. I could try to go Golgari here, go green, black at the core of the deck and splash the blue, because again, our strongest blue cards are actually a little splashable. This requires a single blue, this requires a single blue. So if I want to play even more bombs and play the wrappings here, play the better removal with the spinouts and stuff, we can head in that direction. Which does look slightly appealing to me, considering that I do have to run some filler to get the 2-color version of this deck going. Right, so currently I'm running like Guidelight Optimizer, Keen Buccaneer. I guess that's kind of big once you exhausted a 3-4 Vigilance. Might not be the most filler card in the world. Yeah, I mean, in modern day Magic, filler cards have gotten pretty good. Towards like even the filler doesn't feel completely useless. I feel like the worst card in this deck's probably the Optimizer. Actually, probably the Midnight Mangler. 2 mana, 3/3, but it's only a creature during our opponent's turn unless we crew it. So it's like a 2 mana, 3/3 kind of defender sort of thing. I think Refueler's still decent. Treasure's Insight's a fine draw spell. Yeah. So if we play black, we don't have to run really filler cards like Guidelight Optimizer and Midnight Mangler. But we also have to have a considerably worse mana base, because I'm not going to play black and not splash in these. Play the Sab and the Sita. But green is a core color of the deck, so we could play the Veloheart Bike and the Starting Column. I mean, we do get better removal in black as well, which is pretty appealing. There's a little bit more synergy in that color pair too, because we've got decent self-mill in the green with a Pothole and a Dredger's Insight. And when black, we could actually have some cards that care about the graveyard. Whereas in blue, we're not really getting any extra value out of running those. So I play the Starting Column. I play the Bike. Oh yeah, with the self-mill for the double Curse Cloth wrappings, there's actually a good chunk of decent stuff to do with them. Play the creatures that bring themselves back from grave as well. Or the creature, period, the Deathless Pilot. Looking around here. Yeah, I mean, it's certainly a bombier way to take it. Worse mana base, though. I don't think we're going to be aggressive enough to get a lot of value from Start Your Engines stuff. We're cutting 7 cards. Javelineer is really going to be only good at the decks that are trying to push damage through early, I think. We don't have any Reanimator spells that give us a discount on the card. Technically I have double wrappings, but we have to spend the full mana cost of whatever we're bringing back. So I can't like cycle something for 2 mana and then bring it back for 4. Can't do any kind of cheating on the mana values that way with the cycling, so Archfiend gets a little weaker there. I'd still need to cut 1 more card here. Probably not cutting a land in a 3-color deck. There's some good 6-drops as well. Creature count 12. Definitely need to cut a non-creature here. I feel like Starting Column's the worst card in our deck, but obviously our mana base gets worse without it, which is an issue. I only have 2 blue cards in the entire deck. And I would have a Night Market, Veloheart Bike, an Island. I could do the Bike, 2 islands, and a Night Market and have 4 blue sources for only 2 blue cards. An average of 1 out of 10 cards in the deck's a blue source. We have a little bit of digging with Dredger's Insight as well, right? Artifact, creature, or land, yes. So if there's an island or a mana rock in the top 4, the Insight can pick it up. That's another way to find the splash color. Not a super consistent way, but more consistent than just trying to top deck it naturally. I feel like I can afford to cut Starting Column because it's just weak enough, even with the splash here. Could definitely be wrong. We're certainly running a slightly less consistent deck this way, but a slightly more powerful one. We've got 13 green cards, 9 black, and 2 blue. I'm not putting any more blue sources in. I do need double black on a lot of these cards, and I don't need double green until really late in the game, except for Web Strike Elite, which I feel like I'm going to be cycling a lot. So I'm pretty okay to run the same black and green counts for mana sources here. I actually agree with the auto-suggester. I think this is a solid way to run our first sealed pool. Again, as always, there's going to be different ways to build the deck, depending on if you think it's going to be more powerful to be more consistent. Maybe just be the pure green-blue deck here. That would be really leaning towards consistency, or even cutting one of the slightly better cards, like the Carrion Cruiser, for the weaker mana rock, just to have slightly more consistent mana is another way that you could do it. But I do think we end up somewhere with Simic here for sure. Either this kind of green-black splash blue or just green-blue at the core. Again, yeah, tons of factors to this, tons of different ways to run it, but I like this build a lot, and that is what I'm going to roll with. So without further ado, let's hop into the gameplay and see how it does. All right, here we are for game one. This is the opening hand. We have a double black card and a green-blue card, and exclusively forests here. Tempted to still keep. And the question here is, if we mulliganed to 5, would I keep Forest, Scurryfoot, Hazard of the Dunes? And the answer is a resounding yes. So if our 6-card hand ends up being worse than this, then it's better to just keep this with 100% certainty. The problem is, our 6-card hand could just be better than this, and then it would be better to mulligan. We have the more consistent mana. The double black is the really painful part, right? Just a single blue when we get to that, but 2 black sources for the wrappings. We're on the draw. I really don't love it, but I am going to keep it on the draw. And for now, we're just on 5-card hand. Scurryfoot and Hazard of the Dunes to start us off. Bright Field Glider. Oh my god. I drew the only other blue card in the deck. That's sketchy. Unless we hit the blue source, and then the hand becomes incredible. Watch, we top deck Island. Walking Sarcophagus. Opponent is just aggroing right now. They are going for max speed immediately. They've started their engines on turn 2, so they're at speed 1. They're sending in the glider. They don't have the saddle for it yet. I might have to trade Scurryfoot off into that. The problem is I don't know that I'm even going to have the creature to stop the sarcophagus from raising their speed over time. But glider in the late game also becomes a way to get flying damage through. Like if we're in a board stall, they can just keep saddling it up, getting that flying hit in. This is awkward, but I do have another alternate 4-mana play with Hazard of the Dunes, so if we make it there, we just do that. Gravestalker is not a bad draw here. If we had to draw an off-color card, if we had to draw an uncastable card, I would like to draw one with cycling like we have here. Jesus. This is quite the curve out for sealed deck. 1-drop, 2-drop, 3-drop from opponents. Cycle the Gravestalker. We do find the first swamp, and we find the island. So our only play now is to drop the 2-3. If they have any removal, they'll definitely kill it, because it's got the great exhaust ability for later. Next turn we have Hazard of the Dunes. There's a vehicle... Crew 1 for a 3-2, and they scry a couple when they play it. Alright, so locks it on Surveyor, definitely gets in for 3, puts them to speed 3. I mean, they're just guaranteed to be max speed this game at this point, I think. I mean, they're going to be at least 3 speed before I play the Hazard. I can't just, like, chump block. So Siphon Fuel for removal for next turn. It's probably better to play the frog first, right? We'll have a 6/6 reach indestructible up on blocks. Then we draw 2 when we have the mana up for the Siphon Fuel. Let's see. Again, I feel it's incredibly likely they have the way to push in to raise to the maximum speed here. Does Caradora do it? I don't know. 4 mana 4/2. Search for a mount or vehicle, reveal it, put it in your hand, then shuffle. Well, that's already a really good deal. And then when one or more +1/+1 counters would be put on a creature or vehicle you control, that many +1 are put on instead. Okay. That is a very nice card. Just finds their best mount or vehicle, so tries to find a bomb, and it's potentially a bomb itself if they've got a lot of +1/+1 counter synergy. Unswerving Sloth is a very good vehicle, well, mount technically. This has been quite impressive during the early access. Another one of these cards is just incredible in the board stall kind of situations. Get the indestructible vigilant attack in, untap the entire rest of your board as well. Here's Frog God. We've got double Siphon Fuel now. So we'll do that our next couple turns. If we can stabilize, if we can survive here, we should be able to win the long game between our Frog God and our Curse Cloth Wrappings. I'm at 15 life right now, so it's technically a pretty hearty life total, but our opponent also has a pretty scary board, especially with the Sloth coming up. There's the Ooze Patrol that mills a little bit, gets a bunch of +1/+1 counters. Yep, 4 mana 5/5 it is. This thing a vehicle? Okay, it's technically not, but it looks like race car shaped. Oh, I guess it's the ooze eating a vehicle. The ooze itself is this creature. Interesting. I could cast Curse Cloth Wrappings, but I think I need my Siphon Fuel up right now. Or my Spin Out. Venom Sack Lagak is back. Leonin Surveyor. We might be getting hit. We are not getting hit. Alright, I have 3 removal spells in my hand. I need to cast one of these here, because I'm not going to be able to afford to cast multiple in one turn for a long time. We need to make sure things don't get way out of hand. So, I mean, we're killing the ooze, right? This only adds the counters being put on creatures or vehicles, so it does work on like Ooze Patrol, but none of their other stuff is giving like a counter turn over turn or anything, and that thing's only 2 toughness. I'm gonna just siphon the 5/5. Alright, the frog is free. The 8/8 is here. Now I can Wrappings and have 3 mana up. I've got the Run Over for only 2 mana. So I don't have 4 black, so I can't hold up Spin Out, but I can Wrappings, can Embalm my 1/1, and I can have Run Over up. And it's a 2/2 thanks to the Wrappings making it a zombie. Well, the Embalm making it a zombie, and then the Wrappings giving it +1/+1. I am at 17. But them getting to max speed would be pretty bad for me. I don't think I'm under any pressure to get any damage done to my opponent here. Like, I should be super safe to just hang out with them until we have an overwhelming advantage from our Mythic and our Cursed Cloth Wrappings. Okay. Get a draw 2. Night Market. Honestly, I've got enough card draw here. I'm not cycling that thing. We need more mana. Or, we don't need it, but we can use more mana. See, that's 6 mana to bring back. I don't have enough mana to Embalm Gravestalker and hold anything up this turn. So I will not. I'll play the Lagak and I'm holding up the 5 mana removal or spin out and run over. This could be wrong, but another black source could give me quadruple black if I draw my second copy of Cursed Cloth Wrappings. This one's 7 mana for the exhaust ability on the hazard. I also have Sita's ability to find lethal later. Right? Base power and toughness of all my creatures become equal to Sita's power till end of turn. Yeah, I feel like we're getting an overwhelming board state very quickly here. Like, I don't think I have lethal next turn. But I don't think I'm that far. I mean, I will have Death Touch Trample on one of my creatures, which is pretty big. We're clearing out the Sloth. Got green, green, blue. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Make everybody base power 5. Yeah, that's not going to be... I mean, there's no trample on this one, actually. I was misremembering. So there won't be Death Touch Trample. So we're chilling. I mean, I can send in the 10/10 Indestructible for sure. Now our board state is super wide. They're under an absurd amount of pressure. And they're not really able to crack back from here. Do have trample here, so any block here is going to be quite bad for them. Okay. Trample 8. Absurd card. Get the Gravestalker. Okay. Everybody loses Indestructible and they blow it all up. I still have the wrappings, though, post-board wipe. And this can attack next turn because it's a zombie now, so it's a 7/7. It'll be the 8/8 and declare an attack next turn. Oh my god, it'll actually draw the cards and be able to attack, I think. Wait. Oh no, it cares about the number of counters. It cares about the number of counters, so it won't be able to. It'll just draw the cards. I thought it was based on power toughness. Alright, I make it even bigger. This deck is so stupid. Oh my god. You just hit Sky Sovereign off the top and like, okay, I'll kill that too, might as well. Here's a second Cursed Cloth Wrappings, by the way. Might as well. Yeah, that is such a fair concession from our opponent. Oh my god, I think we cast literally every rare in the deck. That's sealed for you sometimes. Just cast a million rares on our opponent and get absurdly far ahead, even through the board wipe. Rough game for our opponent, but we take those victories. We are 1-0 heading into game 2. The Touch of Death. I don't even know what that's for. And I'm a stylish spell slinger. Alright, here we are on the draw again for game number 2. We've got a very solid opening hand mana-wise. The double blue's awkward, obviously. We never need double blue, but we do have all 4 of our colors, and that is the very important part. Sundial, turn 2 from our opponent on the play. Already a pretty terrifying start from them. Get that 3/3 down to start beating in. Outpace Oblivion to blow up the blocker. And start your engines. This card is going to be phenomenal, this format, I'm sure. The just any turn 2 creature into turn 3 removal plus engines level 2 is quite a lot of tempo. This really gets the engines going fast without much counterplay. Alright, I'll take a million. Hello, Gastel Thrill Roller. Just a ball lightning style vehicle. Slams in for 4 the turn you play it, but it does need to be crewed on future turns. There's a spin out, which is nice. Oh my god, even if I kill that, it comes back from the graveyard. Discarding a land in late game. I don't think I'm spinning out then. The problem is if I play Hazard of the Dudes, Hazard of the Dunes, not Hazard of the Dudes. They crew and attack with that, and I can't block well. I go to 6 anyway. And they're at max speed. Oh boy. Yeah, I don't think there's a good line here. I mean, like, technically I could try to spin out the Sundial so they don't have a creature on board to crew the Thrill Roller, but that would require them having none of these 4 cards being a creature, because it crews for only 2. So almost any creature they cast is going to be big enough. Crew, attack. Probably main phase 2 creature. Yep, main phase 2 creatures, they could have crewed it regardless. Sky Sovereign's a big one. Again, don't know if it's enough. Certainly our best play this turn. The Outpace Oblivion, I believe that pings me for 2 as well now. Yes, pings me for 2. Lightning Strike face. Alright, cool. Just gonna die to another Lightning Strike, I guess. Wow. Alright, good hand's good. Heading on to game 3. Alright, here we are for game number 3. On the draw, 3rd time in a row. And opponent starts with a 1-drop creature again. I would like to be on the play. Ideally, I feel like last game might have been winnable on the play. With the way we drew. Because, yeah, on the play 2-drop into 3-drop. Removal plus start your engines plus shoot for 2 in the late game is insane. What is going on today? This is sealed, not draft, and I'm getting 1, 2, 3 curved out like every game. Technically, game 2, we didn't get 1, 2, 3 curved out, but we got the 2-mana 3/3 into the 3-mana bomb rare. Trample Haster. Yeah, this is brutal. I mean, I think this was a keepable hand and sealed. You can't expect every game to be a 1, 2, 3 curve out on average. So we keep the slower hand. Sadly, don't draw anything that speeds it up. We're still not really doing anything till turn 4. And our opponent just has the turn 1 through 4 complete and utter curve out on the play. can Hazard the Dunes or I can Siphon Fuel one creature. If I Siphon Fuel a Javelineer, I'm stopping 4 damage. If I play Hazard the Dunes, I might not be stopping any damage because they can just play a removal spell if they have one in their hand. So I'm just going to tap out for the Siphon Fuel there to just really make sure that I'm surviving to playing a Mammoth or a Ketrodon. These are going to be huge towards actually trying to stabilize here. Six-4 vehicle. It's crew 4. It crews for a lot, but it's going to be very big. I'm not going to have time to try to get any saddled attacks in here, so I think I have to just play Mammoth and trade it off into the 6-4 if they don't have the removal for it. If they do have the removal for it, we never had a shot this game. Maybe they'll have the combat trick for it. They do. Yay. I didn't want to double block here because they're a black deck and there's a Death Touch Indestructible combat trick. That would completely eliminate us from the game if I went for the double block against that trick. So I felt like that was the most likely trick for them to have because I think it's a better card than Silken Strength by a bit. Sadly, it was the one that I did not play around instead of the one that I did. Such is the way of life. This doesn't get any extra toughness when they get more lands. So, we gotta play the 6-power creature. One more opportunity to try to kill that. There's the removal. Might as well. 5/5 flying trample, draw a bunch of cards. Yep. Maybe this game is the justice for our first game. Because I mean, we just played a million rares and there was like no way our opponent was getting out of it. And now we are getting slammed by the rares. This again was particularly brutal because they had just the aggressive curve out using every single point of mana through like turn 5 on just making a bigger board state to have just the absurdly aggressive curve throughout the early game and then also top it out with the double rare in the end. All we have now is a chump block. And there's nothing in the deck that gets out of this one from here. I mean, we chump block go to 1 from the trample already. they have another combat trick, we are dead to it. Because then instead of taking one, we take at least two. So we might as well go for the triple block on the World Wagon as well. Again, considering I'm already literally dead to a combat trick. Okay, opponent decides lethal is for noobs. They would rather just kill all those. And I'm technically not dead. They would rather play with their food here. There's the Earth Rumbler. Alright, well, our deck does not have a board wipe, so that's 1 and 2. Heading into game 4, just some rough games of Magic. I think we played it out about as well as we could. Those were just some unwinnable games there. Just the way the cards fall. I think our deck is still very, very strong. And despite the 1-2 start, don't need to get our hopes down too soon. This deck has more than enough power to potentially turn this ship around and try to get some more victories here before we're out of the event. So 1-2 start, not where we want to be, but we could still have a lot of games left to play. So without further ado, let's head into game 4. We did it! We won the coin flip and we are finally on the play for game number 4. Playing against a green deck here, we get to start with Dredger's Insight to see if that mills anything to cast, and if not, it might mill something to pick up with the Carrion Cruiser anyway. I've got a Curse Cloth Wrappings coming up, so I just really want to make sure I've got the mana for that. I'm actually just going to pick up a Swamp here. This will guarantee the double black for the Wrappings, which gets us to embalming these creatures in the late game, which will still be really powerful. And of course, the Carrion Cruiser here can pick one of them up this turn. And so we can hard cast one of them if we want to do that as well. Okay. I kind of like picking up Hazard of the Dunes here. Although I could play Gravestalker next turn for only 2 mana if I don't pick up a creature. I guess I'll have 4 mana up, so even if I pick up a creature, I can do that. You know what? Let's pick up the Mammoth then, actually. And just play Gravestalker next turn, and then Wrappings, and then Mammoth. This will be the 4, 5, 6 curve, and then if this dies, I get to also embalm and get more creatures out of it. Just maximize the Curse Cloth Wrappings Mammoth value. Sure. Talent Strike. Oh, I should have crewed the Cruiser. That was a pretty big miss. Because we would have definitely taken that trade. I forgot. I clicked too fast. Ooh, Web Strike Elite. That's a good one. There's a 2 mana thing, so I could, if I wait for this till I have 6 mana, and play this and reanimate something in the same turn. I guess I could just pass here. I can Siphon Fuel or cycle the Elite based on what they play this turn. Let them get to 3 speed. They're just going to pass turn. I guess we Siphon Fuel then. All right. Mammoth. Sure. Exile's a little sad. We don't get to Wrappings it back later, but I've got plenty of creatures in Grave. Migrating Ketrodon, hello there. Welcome to the board. Okay, more than enough mana to do some Wrappings nonsense. Looks like just Lagak right now, though. Could Pothole Mole and Wrappings. But I think I should just play the Lagak here and have a Death Touching blocker. This also makes sure if they have the artifact destruction, the artifact removal, to blow up the Curse Cloth Wrappings, we got at least 1 piece of value out of it guaranteed. so we don't end up down a card. Outpace Oblivion, there goes the Death Toucher. I will not forget to crew this time. Already learning for the Arena Direct, let's go. Sure, 16. That's pretty cute. Man, this card is really good. Helping get to that max speed. Right, if you're at max speed, you ping the opponent for 2 and you don't take any damage. If you're not, you can ping each player for 2 to raise your speed. Of course, clearing out a creature is a great way to up your speed. Just a beautiful card all around. Could get Hazard of the Dunes here for 4. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I can play Pothole on the Hazard of the Dunes. Not playing this, I'd rather double spell and play more blockers overall. I probably should have gotten a swamp there. I mean, I guess since I picked up a land with it, I can play this. Yeah, I'll go for it. All right, there's the concession from our opponent. They're over it, and we're 2-2 heading into game number 5. Here we are on the play again for game 5. We love to see it. We've got our turn 2 Seat of Varma. We have double Curse Cloth wrappings, which is like, it's nice if they blow the first up, but it's pretty redundant. Giving all of our stuff +2/+2 instead of +1/+1 isn't really fully worth another card. We'd rather just have like 1 wrappings and just a 4-mana 4/4 here. What are these? Oh, these are the Aetherdrift full arts? I have not seen that before. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. All right, Vinwixit is here, so we really don't want them to get to max speed. We're going to have issues. Let's see what's in their hand here. Get rid of an instant or sorcery. Stall out just stuns things, or Sky Crash can blow up one of the wrappings. So I guess we're letting them stun something. Double creature here. The 2/3 body really helping us out there. Oh shoot, you know what I realized? I don't have double black yet. I might have to cycle Ketradon towards another black source. Raider gets better at max speed, but we really don't care that much about it. We'd be just trading into a 1/1 or a 2/1 anyway. Alright, just bounce there and then this trades. I mean, I guess the 2/3... it's probably going to be like the 2/3 bouncing and then this pinging me for 1 if I send everybody, so I'm just going to pass. And I will cycle Ketradon, right? Because if we get to double black, then we just get to recast Ketradon from grave anyway. They only have 1 unknown card in hand. Oh, they have no max hand size? Nice. Alright, well... wherever they drew better be pretty relevant here. So just do this. Oh, right, this thing has an exhaust ability. I'm done. Still fine. This keeps them from raising their speed. Probably should have double blocked, though, in this case. Tried to get the kill on Specialist. I didn't really have a block to get it killed without putting our rare at risk, so... another green source. Can this pick up a land? No, creature or vehicle? That's rough. Yikes, yeah, that's not good. I mean, it's a 3-power vehicle to block their 4/3. So that's still pretty relevant. And I'm picking up Ketradon, so any land I draw, I get to just play the Ketradon. I don't have to rely on hitting a swamp for these Curse Cloth wrappings. They could stall out the Carrion Cruiser here. They're going to cycle that, fair enough. If you would draw a card, draw 2. So all of their cycling becomes draw 2. Their first draw per turn becomes draw 2. This gets to copy an instant or sorcery. Really want to keep them off max speed. Okay, so if I top deck any land, I can just cast this. But I can also cycle it to make it more likely to top deck a swamp. We dig farther that way. We have 6 swamps and a night market. 3 forests and an island. So 4 of our land draws are not black sources. 7 of them are. I think I don't cycle it, because then there's like 11 draws in the deck where I just cast Catcher on him. I guess 10, because one of them's a tap land. If I cycle it, there's only 7 draws towards casting Wrappings. 6 that enter untapped. I think I'm just going for the top deck. Okay. We did just immediately hit the swamp anyway, but we just play Ketrodon. So double black and 2. I need to draw another black source to immediately reanimate something with Wrappings. Oh wow, that card's pretty solid in a long game. And this is looking to be a long game, so they're just going to draw an extra card every turn. That is not another black source. I could just dump a million mana into Sita here. Green, green, blue, X. 1, 2, 3, 4 mana. Make this a 6 power creature. Also just play the pilot. Don't mind that. That crews the cruiser if I need to. So we can get an attack in here since they haven't played any more creatures. Is this a zombie? It is a zombie, so we'll get the Wrappings buff immediately. Scurryfoot is nice. That's a lot of creatures. It's also pretty cheap. At some point, we're going to have to get the Wrappings down just to have it ready for a future turn. So I think I'm just going to use this turn as the excuse. Play the Scurryfoot without making it any bigger yet. Double Lightning Strike is super fine. Or Lightning Strike Specialist, yeah. I'll trade that into any 2 cards and be happy with it. All right. Draw the Ether Siphon card. There's the Sky Crash. Gonna hit him with the old one too. I won't be able to recast anything right now anyway, though. Okay, I'm not gonna hit him with the old one too. I'm gonna go Pothole Mole, adapt the Scurryfoot. Exhaust the Scurryfoot, technically. This is a 3/3 now. Well, this is a 2/2 now, so it doesn't really attack well. But they only have 1 toughness creatures over there now. Team Slam. Could have probably even sent in with the cruiser instead of having that up on blocks. Oh. I'm going to be at max speed this game, but I don't really care. I'll put my elephant token back on top of my deck. Can't wait to see what we draw. Can't wait to draw my 0 mana 3/3. Burnout Bastronaut. I think this card's really good in the opening hand. If you can play this turn 1, start your engines, and have a menacing attacker to get in, it's pretty insane. Where'd my 0 mana 3/3 go? We didn't draw it. Alright, here's Curse Cloth Wrappings. Here's Hazard of the Dunes, right? Yeah. But I could Gastral Raider, actually. Force them to use any instant right now if they have one. And if they don't, then we just get to know exactly what they got going on. Yeah, just a Raceway, sure. I mean, yeah, we are super, super ahead. They're at speed 1, so I don't even really need to worry about the counterattack at all. No, we just don't attack with this, because I would rather just exhaust this next turn for lethal than trade it into the Bastronaut. They do have the mana for a lot of buffs with that. And now we actually get a tiny bit of maximum speed value. We've got a menace threat now. Alright, this is absurd amounts of lethal. Unless they top deck the removal here. Solid draw, but we're still quite a bit ahead. The power would be 2 because it's before it resolves, so that's not even changing anything. It's actually reducing the damage a little bit, I think. Well, I guess this technically has base power 2 and this technically has base power 1, so I think we might have done 1 more damage. Right, this is a 2/1 that has +2/+2 right now. From this and from its ability, that's a 1/1 with a +1/+1 counter. I think we would have done 1 more damage. Alright, anyways. That was a very solid recovery from the 1-2 start. As I was saying, looking at the deck again after the quick 2 losses in a row that were pretty sad, pretty demoralizing. It was important to keep the head up and be like, you know, this deck is great. We can easily recover from this, and we have fully recovered to an average record here at worst. We are 3-2 right now, heading into Game 6. Oh. I mean, we have to mulligan that. Nothing's castable till turn 5. There's 3 green spells and 3 swamps. Sky Sovereign is really strong, and it does make me way more tempted than I should be to keep this, but we cannot keep this hand. Arena's so funny sometimes. Arena's like, oh, you wanted it to be an easy mulligan? Sorry, let me take the Sky Sovereign out of there for you. No, but then I have to mulligan to 5, Arena. Now I have to mulligan to 5. Alright, well, that's many colors of mana, I guess. This is awkward. I think we have to do like this. I might even have to go land over spin out here. Then I've got a 1-drop, 2-drop, 4-drop play. More land to make it more likely. Really don't want to have no removal, but the run over is only like 2 damage in this hand. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's gross. I mean, that's just what happens when you mold a 5. It is not particularly pretty, but we also didn't really have a choice. So here's Scurryfoot turn 1. Alright. Mold into the 1-2-3 curve out. Pretty lucky draws, at least, with the Raider off the top. Risky shortcut. Everybody draws 2 and loses 2. Well, they draw 2 and everybody loses 2, sorry. I wish I drew 2 there. Here's the Raider to see exactly what's going on in their hand. It's the opposite. It's a bunch of flood. They've got one vehicle and nothing to crew it. We can only make them discard a run over, but that's fine because it's just a ton of mana over there. Got a Gravestalker coming up, but no creatures in grave to make it any cheaper. The Carrion Cruiser will help out with that a lot, though. Mills too when they play it. See what it mills. Instant, and then a vehicle, which just goes right to the hand. Alright. I've got Curse Cloth Wrappings mana, but obviously nothing in graveyard here. I think more importantly at this rate, I have Spin Out mana to try to blow up a blocker and just get all my damage in. That feels more relevant currently. Yeah, there's the Jaguar. I blow it up and I don't hit for lethal because they crew the cruiser and have a blocker up. They block there, go to 2 life, but I'm going to put them to 2 and have the kill next turn. They did not crew, which is really lucky for me. I made the exact same mistake earlier, but luckily enough for me, it was not in a position where it gave my opponent lethal that turn. So slightly luckier with my misplay there. And we are now 4-2 heading into game number 7. Here we are on the play for game 7. This is a slower hand, but we're on the play to make up for it with some ramp to really help it out. I don't think I'm cycling this, honestly. So I've got the 3-drop play, I've got removal here. Kind of just need a big creature. The double wrappings again. Why? Silly. The thing I don't love about Gravestalker and Grave with the wrappings is we don't get the discount on the embalm cost. Webstrike Elite gets hard cast. That means they won't have it to blow up a wrappings later, but this hand's also super, super slow, so that's pretty fine for our opponent. I probably have to spin out a small creature here just to slow them down. Like just spin out a 3/3. Can wait till main phase 2. We playing a 4-drop here to blow up. Yeah, 4/4 trample reach. Probably worth that extra 3 damage to blow that up instead. There's the 5/4. And there's the removal. So we take 5, go to 10. That is a blocker. That is a massive blocker that's really hard to kill. It won't block next turn, but it blocks right now, so it's about as relevant as any other play here. I'm pretty happy with that, with double wrappings in the hand. Just Broken Wings my mana rock. It was a vehicle I could have blocked with if they have exile removal for Sab here. Okay, they do not have the exile removal. I draw 2 cards. That gives me more mana, so I could play Wrappings and Dredger's Insight in the same turn. But then I don't have a Siphon Fuel up. I'm pretty confident I need to Siphon here. Need to be really, really conservative with my life total. Okay, Loxodon Surveyor has an ability in the graveyard. If they get to max speed, the Webstrike Elite does not, and is also a slightly better blocker, so we siphon the Webstrike Elite. Pothole Mole is the draw. It's a 6-drop for the wrappings here, so we're definitely not able to immediately reanimate anything with wrappings yet. Pick up a Ketradon. Big life gain from that. Play the Pothole Mole, and that gains a life, picking up a land with this. Awesome. I also found a 4-mana creature for Curse Cloth Wrappings. So when I have 8 mana, I can play a Wrappings and the 4/4 from Grave. Choose an artifact or creature from it, exile it. Okay. I can just cycle the Ketradon and they exile one of the 2 Wrappings here. I mean, it's really not the end of the world if they just exile the Ketradon, though, so I'm just gonna show them. Sure. Okay. Oh, top deck the Sky Sovereign. Oh my. Mercy on my opponent's poor soul. And I can crew that. Even if this can't attack or block, it can crew. Yeah, they're done. They're so over it. They see double Curse Cloth Wrappings, and then I immediately top deck a card that would have been a really good card for them to exile last turn. Although I suppose, like, if I had this in my hand last turn, it would not have been in my hand. I would have played that instead of Pothole Mole for dang sure. And they wouldn't have had the option to exile regardless. Alright. Another brutal game there. Just playing all of our incredibly powerful rares and running away with it, as you do. Really stressful one, though. We were definitely on the back foot again. Needed to stabilize there in the long game, but super, super powerful rares really helped us do so, and we are 5-2 for a very positive record here, no matter where we go from there. All right, here we are on the draw for Game 8. I think this is our first time on the draw in a while. I might be wrong. All of our losses have been on the draw, so I'm already unhappy. And the 1-mana cards that start your engines, I think, are some of the best aggressive starts in the whole format. So I'm always horrified from that. On the play with a turn 1 start your engines card is just a really good way to get things rolling and try to start pretty far ahead. Really get the pressure on. Yeah. 1-drop rare into 2-mana haster. Here we go again. Is this going to be a no counterplay quick loss? Or we've had several games as well where we were beaten down early, but we managed to turn things around with a stabilize. So let's see, can we stabilize this one? I think we block the specialist, as that can turn into a 4/3 later. The Gas Guzzler can sack their creatures to draw cards later, but it's not going to hit for any more damage, at least, like the specialist does. Land 3 and the Wicker Folk for a 1/3 flyer, Surveil 2. So again, under a ton of pressure here. I wouldn't be surprised if I'm supposed to just spin out here, considering I have another removal spell for later. I don't think the play is Carrion Cruiser, so we're probably going to spin out the Gas Guzzler before they have maximum speed. It stops a little bit more damage and stops them from having the utility of sacking things to draw cards. I think that's worth it. It's slightly more damage being stopped, and I have reach creatures for the flyer later anyway, so I'm not super worried about the evasiveness, and if it's that big of a deal, I've also got the Siphon Fuel. Okay, they're out of cards in hand, so here's the start towards stabilizing. Here's the Hazard of the Dunes. I mean, they're not literally out of cards in hand, but they've only got 1 left, so not a ton of gas left in the tank for our opponent. They have to top deck into some goodies to keep it rolling. Be the Death Touch Indestructible trick. That would get me either way. I think most combat tricks would get me either way, so I might as well stop more damage. Blocking the Catalyzer. Yeah, that trick gets me either way. They just have to spend more mana if I block the Wicker Folk, which doesn't matter because they're not spending the rest of their mana anyway. So I think that was the right location to block. Now we have the Pothole Mole towards getting the 5th mana for the Siphon Fuel, and the Amonkhet God does find that mana. And of course it's also the trade for the 3/1. The Raceway means any creature they draw is going to just immediately have haste. That's scary too. All right, down to 11. Let's get it going. No attacks from our opponent next turn. We're going to start drawing 2 cards every other turn. All right, here's the draw 2. Find a Dredger's Insight and a Mammoth. Mammoth is ridiculously good right now, so we're going to run that out. Technically, I'm going to take a damage in the sky, but whatever. Our opponent's over it. They see the Mammoth. They see the gigantic board sitting behind this Amonkhet God, and they give us the victory. That is 6-2 now. We have turned our 1-2 start into a run that has made it all the way to the final battle here. We are in the final boss, competing for the maximum prizes. Win or lose, this will be the final game of Magic for today, and no matter what, the entry fee of the event is 2,000 gems. We are straight up in the money here. We got all of our gems back, as well as keeping everything that we opened up, and 3 more packs of Aetherdrift. So a really nice spot to be for our first sealed event, but we'll see if we can't give it the cherry on top at the end of this delicious Sunday, and try to get that final victory here as we head into the final battle. All right, here we are on the play for the final game of Magic. Love to see that. I've got Lagak into Raider here, so that on turn 3 I start my engines, plus try to speed up in the same turn to be at speed 2. That doesn't matter a ton in this deck. We don't have a lot of max speed value, but just curving out 2-drop, 3-drop is already pretty impressive on the play. Get rid of a removal spell from our opponent's hand, and we get to check out what they have here. No flash creatures, so we're going to jam in. So we've got Camera Launcher. That's a super fine trade right now, because if we don't trade, they can exhaust it, make it a 3/3, get another creature out of it. So I'm perfectly happy to take the trade here. With anybody. We're going to take the damage. So here's an interesting decision point. I can hold on to Web Strike Elite to cycle it to blow something up and draw a card later. Technically puts me up a card, or I can just get a 3/3 on this board to immediately start attacking with. Camera Launcher is one of the cards I can blow up, and next turn I will have the 5 mana. But we are on the play. We're getting a decent aggressive start. I still feel like our average draws are going to be slow enough here that we shouldn't really plan on breaking through all of these creatures, especially considering the Broadcast Rambler coming up as 2 creatures off the 1 spell. I don't think, even if I curve this out aggressively, we're going to be like finding a quick kill here. We are probably trying to top deck into our stronger long game threats, like our Mammoth or any of our rares and stuff like that. So playing towards the 2-for-1 play as well as digging farther in the deck feels better. Saddle 2 to get the Lagak in. Let's do so, because they have the instant speed ability to get the 1/1 blocker. I mean, they could just chump with it if they really want to stop me from getting to max speed, but I feel like that's going to be some decent value for me as well. Just eating up a 1/1. They are not going to chump with it. We are going to go to max speed, and the Raider's going to get the buff. So I'll drop the Hazard of the Dunes and pass. Now, I believe if I tried to Web Strike Elite cycle blow up the launcher in response to its exhaust ability, they would still create the 1/1 Thopter there. And now I could Web Strike Elite this Flood. That feels decent, but I kind of want to get rid of the Rambler, a 5/4 body. I'll need 7 mana to do that, but it feels valuable to do. Right, they've got the double block for the Raider, so we're just sending Lagak in again. I mean, I could have them double block Raider and then Web Strike Elite on the double block. I don't think I'm doing that, though. Again, I'm getting greedy with Web Strike Elite. Okay, just exile that. That's pretty solid. 2-drop pulls a Ride's End out of their hand. Okay, I don't have the 7 mana to elite away the 5-drop if they cast it this turn, so I'm just going to play the 5/4 for now. Alright. Now I can elite the 5/4. And that is the mana I needed for that. Once they tap to crew, they no longer have the blockers up for the menace, and then I blow it up. They also don't have a good block for Gravestalkers. They kind of just take 8 here. Gross. Skystreak Engineer turns into a 3/5 flyer when they've got 5 mana towards it. There's the Lotus Guard Disciple finally for the lifelink swing here. They're down to 4, but they get to go back up to 7 now. Cool. Scurryfoot off the top is really not bad. Instant speed removal in hand makes our attacks pretty great here. And pretty much all their creatures are flying, so you know we're just jamming. Chump the 5/4. Okay, 2/1/1 flyers trade with the 3/2. A 2/2 flyer and a 1/1 flyer trades into the 3/2. Okay, no, they found the right block. There we go. So now I will have to spend the removal. If I spin out, I do not have the mana to exhaust the Scurryfoot this turn anyway, so I might as well spend the more expensive Siphon Fuel to save the cheaper one for a future turn. Another Lotus Guard Disciple off the top for another lifelink swing. Target the first Lotus Guard Disciple, go up to 9 life, and they are at max speed. I've got the double removal here, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, exact lethal on board. And we know their hand is another sorcery speed creature, so if we just blow up the board, that is a lethal attack this turn, and that gets us the 7th win for the full trophy run on our very first sealed event of the format. I guess I also could have crewed the bike there for slightly more damage now that they didn't have any blockers up than in the 4/2 instead of the 3/2 menace, but exact lethal already. Full 7-win trophy run for the first sealed event of the format, and again, managed to be as exciting as possible because we got 2 losses really early, so we needed to hit a 6-win streak to get the full prizes, and we did. Really, really powerful deck today. Again, I said it as soon as we opened the sealed pool, but just opening up all these rares was very, very helpful. We got so much bomb power in this deck between 2 copies of Curse Cloth Wrappings, a Sky Sovereign, a Sab, a Sita. All of this stuff played really, really well. Yeah, so pretty simple stuff in terms of showing off one of the most important factors of Sealed, which is just opening up really good bombs and playing them. So not the most interesting, smartest deck build in the universe or anything, but our deck did have a lot of really nice synergy going for it as well. That played nice for us, like the kind of self-mill package between the Insight, the Carrying Cruiser, the Pothole Mole. These cards all played together pretty synergistically in the past, and they also filled the grave for Curse Cloth Wrappings in a lot of those games. So that was kind of the coolest synergy stuff going on. Just the Golgari self-mill stuff you can do in this format, and that was pretty nice. But a whole lot of this, as I said before, was just riding off the back of these powerful, powerful bomb rares. I think the Elite is less of a bomb, but these are all bombs, and of course all these cards are rares, so we're playing like 6 rares in the deck in the first place, which is pretty impressive. I mean, we even have some uncommons I would consider bombs. I mean, just one, really. The Mammoth here, such a huge card for stabilizing. A 5/5 and a 3/3 for only 6 mana, and you can get even more if it sticks around. This card was phenomenal for us as well. So really, really nice stuff from the deck, and very happy to get the full trophy on the first run of the format. So let's grab the prizes here. It's been a while since I've played a lot of Sealed, so I forgot. 2,200 gems in 3 packs. Sealed, of course, the prizes are not as good as in Draft, because a lot of that entry fee is just in the 9 packs that you get in Sealed. Even if you get 0 wins, you get 6 packs to build with, and then 3 prize packs. The number of prize packs you get never changes, so Sealed is not the greatest prize out. If you're super competitive and you really want to try to get those 7-win runs to be way up in value, there's not really any point where you're way up in value in Sealed. It's really just about all the booster packs you're opening is where the prize out is for there. So yeah, not the craziest prizes ever, even though we got the full 7-winner, but still really nice to get that 7-winner, and of course get that practice for the Arena Direct next weekend. If we can get a 7-winner, or technically a 6-winner in that, that's when we could get some booster boxes, which would be really, really sweet. So looking forward to that, but for now, that is going to end today's video. As always, I'd like to thank my patrons and the YouTube members for their support, as well as you for watching the video. If you enjoyed it and you're interested in seeing some more, you can always like, comment, and subscribe to tell the YouTube algorithm to send you some more in your recommended feed. If you'd like to catch me live, you can check out the Twitch channel in the link in the description below. And if you'd like to support the channel directly, you can check out the Patreon link in the description below. But other than that, as always, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you again soon for some more Magic Arena.